Welcome back to MRecaps, the place where movies come back to life in minutes. Hitler invades Austria in 1938 and seeks control of Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland. The leaders of Britain, France, and Italy agree to his demand in order to prevent war. The next day, Hitler's troops enter Czechoslovakia. Tens of thousands of refugees fled to the unoccupied Prague. Many are families with children. 1988. Nicholas Winton and his wife Greta enjoy their quiet life in the English suburbs. Greta has grown dissatisfied with the mess in their home caused by Nicholas's work. While cleaning up his office, Greta instructs Nicholas to find a place for an old briefcase he keeps in a drawer. Greta departs for a trip out of town, and Nicky returns home alone, remembering events from the past. 1938. A younger Nicky works as a stockbroker in London and lives with his mother, Baby. Nicky speaks with his friend Martin, who is presently working in Prague to help migrants. Martin attempts to persuade Nicky not to come, but Nicky insists on going. Babi expresses concern for Nicky's safety. He reassures her that he will be careful and explains that he feels obligated to go. Nicky arrives in Prague and meets Martin's colleagues from the British Committee for Refugees, Trevor Chadwick and Doreen Warner, the operations head. Doreen and Trevor discuss the current circumstances, including how refugees fled Nazi control and arrived in Prague. Doreen brings Nicky to a congested refugee camp, where he meets Hanna Hajdukova, the liaison officer for Czech refugees, who gives him a tour. Nicky is very impacted by the situation of the refugees, particularly the many children who are unprepared for the coming winter. Nicky finds that the British Kinder Transport, which rescues children, only helps them escape Germany and Austria and refuses to aid them in Czechoslovakia. Nicky talks with a rabbi who is concerned that Nicky's plan to take Jewish children from Prague will aid Hitler's objective of destroying the Jewish people. Nicky insists it will be a temporary relocation. The rabbi examines Nicky's motivations, and Nicky admits that, while all of his grandparents were Jewish, the family concealed their religions when they immigrated to England, and he was reared Christian. He makes a passionate plea, and the rabbi agrees to help. Nicky calls Babi and asks for assistance. Babi visits the British Immigration Office to obtain information and is persistent with the agency's chief, Mr. Ledbetter, who initially refuses to speak with her. Nicky postpones his return to the office and collaborates with Hanna to canvass refugee camps and collect information on all children. Nicky is desperate to find a little girl and her baby sister whom he met on his first visit. He locates them and discovers that the baby is an orphan that the girl discovered and cares for. 1988. Nicholas receives a call from his daughter, who informs him that she is available to discuss what to do with the suitcase. Nicholas removes his files from the storage shed and burns them on fire. 1938. Nicky and Trevor start collecting information from all of the local Jewish households and their children. Nicky gets a message from his office demanding that he return to work. Babi contacts him and informs him that any child seeking refuge in England will need an application, an individual sponsor prepared to pay for the child's requirements, a £50 fee, a medical certificate, and a foster parent. Nicky advises that they try to gather press in England to win popular support, and Trevor gives him his briefcase as a gift to assist with the task. Nicky returns to the UK and collaborates with Babi to write a letter to media about the crisis in Prague, his committee's objectives, and their appeal for assistance. Nicky and Babi speak with Mr. Ledbetter and ask him to assist expedite the procedure, since they intend to transport the first 20 children to Liverpool in 2 weeks and cannot wait because the Nazi invasion is approaching. Babi manages to establish an emotional connection, and Ledbetter agrees to assist if all paperwork is in order. They get to work with Martin and secure everything required for the first group. Trevor informs Nicky that the situation in Prague is deteriorating as some refugees disappear from the camps. Trevor successfully travels to England with the first 20 children, who are assigned to foster families. 1988. Nicholas goes through a scrapbook within the briefcase which contains images and writings about the operation. Nicholas contacts a newspaper editor and requests that he write a column about a fresh immigrant problem. However, the editor is uninterested in the subject. Nicholas takes lunch with the older Martin, and the two pals catch up. Martin suggests Nicholas ease down his support efforts so he can enjoy the rest of his life, and that the scrapbook be donated to a museum. Martin proposes that Nicholas be prouder of his work, and Nicholas admits that he has recently been thinking about the children they saved. 1938. Doreen calls Nicky to inform him that the Nazis and Hitler had overrun Prague. Doreen and Trevor go to check on the refugees in one of the safe houses and discover that 2 children are missing, a young girl and a baby. Nicky goes to visit Ledbetter about getting extra visas, but he is on vacation and no one else is ready to help him. Trevor forges 3 documents to get the kids out of the country. Trevor is approached by Nazi officers on the train out of Prague with the children, but he survives and arrives safely in England. Nicky returns to Ledbetter with a large stack of children who still need to be rescued, and Ledbetter agrees to help. In England, Nicky, Babby, and their colleagues learn that Germany has invaded Poland and that war has officially begun. The operation in Prague begins removing proof of their work and abandons the office. Hannah leads a big group of children to the last train out, leaving Trevor behind. 1988, Gret returns home and expresses gratitude that Nicholas has cleaned the house. Nicholas agrees to meet with a French historian who has contacted out. Nicholas proceeds to meet Elizabeth, Betty Maxwell. He gives her the scrapbook and reveals that his procedure resulted in the birth of 669 children in total. Betty is surprised with how much work was done, but Nicholas explains that the last pages of the scrapbook are blank because the final train never arrived in England, because Nazi forces arrived and forced the children to disembark before it left. Betty speculates that the majority of those children later died in concentration camps, and Nicholas adds that he prefers to anticipate brighter possibilities to protect himself from going insane. Betty wants to share the album with her husband. Nicholas and Greta welcome their daughter and son-in-law for Christmas. Nicholas receives a letter from the Sunday Mirror newspaper expressing interest in publishing an item on the child evacuation and collaborating with the BBC television show That's Life on a piece. Nicholas travels to the set of the show since he is informed they need him there to ensure correctness. He is seated in the front row of the crowd when the show is taped. The host of the presentation, Esther Ranson, relates Nicholas's narrative and surprises him by revealing that Vera, one of the children he rescued, is now an adult and sits next to him. Nicholas and Vera hug as he is brought to tears. Following the show, Vera tells Nicholas about her life. Greta consoles Nicky when she bursts into tears at home. A week later, Greta receives a call from a producer at That's Life, informing her that 2 more persons Nicholas has rescued have contacted out and want to see him. Nicholas agrees to return to the performance alongside Greta. At the taping, Esther surprises Nicholas once more by revealing that the entire audience is made up of the now adult children he helped rescue. The audience applauds Nicholas. Later, Nicky and Greta host a celebration for Vera and her extended family. After the show aired, other youngsters contacted Nicky, and he remained close to them until his death at the age of 106. Nicholas eventually presented the scrapbook to Israel's Holocaust Museum and received a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth II.